George is leading this one. I will be right here if you need me.
Thanks, Erica. I have got decades of stories on this one. Let us start from the top. May 2017, British Airways, bank holiday weekend, the worst possible time for an IT failure. A power surge at a data center in Borehamwood knocked out the primary systems. And then nothing came back up. 75,000 passengers were stranded or had flights cancelled across a single weekend. The cost was estimated between 80 and 150 million GBP in compensation and lost revenue.
And the root cause? A failover system that was never properly tested. British Airways had a documented recovery path, they just had not verified it worked. That is a business continuity planning failure at the highest level, not a hacking incident, not a breach. A power event that any well-designed business continuity plan would have treated as a tested scenario with a documented recovery path.
Think of business continuity plan like a building's emergency exits. You do not install them hoping to use them. You install them, test them, and train every person to find them in the dark. British Airways had exits marked on paper. Nobody had walked them.
In an era where passengers expect real-time rebooking, a weekend-long outage does not just cost you flight revenue, it costs you the customer relationship for the next decade.
In this video, we are going deep on business continuity plan for the CISSP exam. Business impact analysis methodology, every recovery metric, recovery time objective, recovery point objective, maximum tolerable downtime, MTTF, mean time to recover, mean time between failures, business continuity plan versus disaster recovery plan, and the documentation structure the exam tests. Quick intros before we jump in.
Good to be in the co-host seat for a change. Let us have some fun with this.
Hi, I'm Core. I love making complicated things click. That is my thing.
Michael here. This is the kind of topic I could talk about for hours.
Good to have everyone. Here we go. The business impact analysis is not a step inside the business continuity plan. It is the foundation the entire business continuity plan is built on. Before you can plan how to recover, you must know what to recover, in what order, and how long you can survive without it.
The first step is identifying critical business functions. This means mapping every major process, payroll, order processing, customer service, regulatory reporting, and the systems, people, and data each one depends on. If any dependency fails, which processes stop?
Picture a restaurant kitchen. The critical function is serving food. The dependencies are the stove, the refrigeration, the suppliers, and the staff. A business impact analysis asks, if the stove fails, how long before you lose the dinner service contract? If refrigeration fails, how many hours until the food spoils and the legal liability kicks in? That question, and that timeline, is exactly what a business impact analysis is built to answer.
The impact quantification step is where most organizations underestimate the analysis. Financial impact is the obvious piece, how much revenue per hour of downtime. But the exam also expects you to account for legal penalties for missed SLAs and the reputational damage that does not appear in this quarter's report.
Core is right about the reputational piece. It is often the largest long-term cost and the hardest to quantify. Recovery priority follows from the impact analysis. Payroll and core transaction systems land at the top. Internal reporting tools might tolerate a week of outage before anyone outside notices.
Here is the critical point for the exam. The business impact analysis tells you the numbers, how long each process can be down, and what recovery looks like. Every metric we cover in the next two scenes traces directly back to what the business impact analysis discovered. If you skip the business impact analysis or do it poorly, every recovery target you set is a guess.
3 metrics: recovery time objective, recovery point objective, and maximum tolerable downtime. Form the recovery triangle for every system in your business continuity plan. These are the most heavily tested business continuity plan concepts on the CISSP exam. George Michael, the exam loves to test whether candidates keep them straight under pressure.
Recovery time objective is the recovery time objective. It answers the question, once a disruption occurs, how quickly must this system be operational again? If your payment processing system has a recovery time objective of 4 hours, your business continuity plan must include a verified recovery path that restores it within 4 hours.
Recovery point objective is the recovery point objective, and this one is about data, not time. Recovery point objective answers, in the event of a failure, how far back in time can we afford to recover? A 2-hour recovery point objective means you can tolerate losing up to 2 hours of transactions. That directly drives how often you must back up.
Maximum tolerable downtime is the maximum tolerable downtime, sometimes called MTO, maximum tolerable outage. This is the hard ceiling. Stick around for the exam trap scene because the exam will test whether you understand that maximum tolerable downtime is not a target, it is a deadline. Beyond maximum tolerable downtime, the organization suffers harm that cannot be undone.
The relationship between recovery time objective and maximum tolerable downtime is the one the exam tests most aggressively. Recovery time objective must always be less than or equal to maximum tolerable downtime. If your maximum tolerable downtime is 8 hours, but your recovery time objective says 12, your plan is already broken before any disaster occurs. The business continuity plan must be designed so that the recovery time objective fits inside the maximum tolerable window.
And recovery point objective has its own operational consequence. A 4-hour recovery point objective means your backup schedule cannot have gaps longer than 4 hours. If your nightly batch backup runs every 24 hours, your effective recovery point objective is up to 24 hours, whether your plan says 4 hours or not. The policy and the technical implementation must match.
These 3 metrics are about hardware reliability and maintenance planning. The exam tests whether you understand the difference between something you repair and something you replace, because those are managed completely differently in a business continuity plan.
MTTF is mean time to failure. It represents the expected lifespan of a component you replace when it fails, not repair. Think of a hard drive rated at 50,000 hours MTTF. That does not mean every drive lasts exactly 50,000 hours. It means across a large sample, the average time to failure lands around that mark. Plan accordingly.
Mean time to recover is mean time to repair. This applies to repairable systems, servers, network switches, enterprise storage arrays. If a server fails and your team's average time to diagnose, fix, and restore it is 90 minutes, your mean time to recover is 90 minutes. This feeds directly into your recovery time objective planning.
Mean time between failures is mean time between failures, the full cycle. Mean time between failures equals MTTF plus mean time to recover. For a repairable system, it measures the total time from one failure to the next failure, including the repair window in between. A higher mean time between failures means your system is available more of the time.
Here is where mean time between failures gets practical for business continuity plan. If your server cluster has a mean time between failures of 2,000 hours, you schedule maintenance before the expected failure, not after. Proactive replacement keeps you in control of when the downtime happens.
For the CISSP exam, the distinction that matters most is MTTF versus mean time between failures. MTTF is for non-repairable components you replace. Mean time between failures covers the full reliability cycle of repairable systems. When the exam asks which metric is used to schedule preventive maintenance, the answer is mean time between failures.
Business continuity plan and disaster recovery plan are the two terms that get swapped most often on the exam and in real organizations. Michael, you see this confusion all the time. They are related, but they are not the same plan, and the distinction is foundational.
Business continuity plan is the business continuity plan. It addresses the question, how does the organization keep its critical business functions operating during and after a disruption? Business continuity plan is broad. It covers people, processes, alternate facilities, communication chains, and vendor agreements.
Right core. Business continuity plan is the emergency operations framework. If headquarters floods, business continuity plan tells employees where to report, how customers are being served, which contracts get priority, and how leadership decides without normal infrastructure. Business continuity plan is about keeping the business alive.
Disaster recovery plan is the disaster recovery plan. It is specifically about IT restoring systems, applications, and data to a functioning state after a declared disaster. Disaster recovery plan is a component of business continuity plan. The two plans are not parallel tracks. Disaster recovery plan plugs into business continuity plan as the technology recovery layer.
The timing difference is also tested on the exam. Business continuity plan activates the moment a disruption is detected. The business starts executing its continuity procedures immediately. Disaster recovery plan activates only after a formal disaster declaration by authorized leadership. You declare the disaster, then the IT recovery plan kicks in.
And ownership matters for the exam answer choices. Business continuity plan is owned by business leadership, the people accountable for the organization's ability to operate and meet its obligations. Disaster recovery plan is owned by IT and operations, the people responsible for the technology that supports those operations. When the exam asks who owns continuity planning, the correct answer is not the CTO.
A business continuity plan that is not scoped is not a plan, it is a wish list. The scope declaration defines exactly which business units, systems, geographic locations, and processes fall inside the plan. Anything out of scope is explicitly unprotected, and that decision must be documented and accepted by leadership.
I have seen organizations where the business continuity plan covered headquarters and forgot about the outsourced data processing center that handled 60% of their transaction volume. When that facility had an issue, leadership discovered the gap during an actual incident, not a tabletop exercise. Scope definition is not a formality.
The documentation structure mirrors other policy frameworks. You have the business continuity plan policy at the top, the executive statement of intent and authority. Below that, the plan itself, procedures for specific scenarios, then supporting resources, contact trees, vendor agreements, alternate site contracts, equipment inventories.
Testing types are frequently tested on the CISSP exam. A tabletop exercise is a discussion-based walkthrough. A simulation introduces a scenario but does not activate systems. Parallel testing runs recovery systems alongside production without cutting over. Full interruption testing cuts over to the recovery environment completely, the highest risk but most realistic test. George, you mentioned earlier that organizations often skip this step. The exam expects you to know why full interruption is the gold standard.
The update trigger list matters for the exam. BCPs must be reviewed after every test that reveals a gap, after every significant IT or business change, after every actual event where the plan was activated, and on a scheduled basis even if none of those triggers occurred. A plan that was accurate 3 years ago may protect against a business that no longer exists.
Senior management sign-off is not optional, and the exam knows it. The business continuity plan must be authorized by someone accountable for the organization's survival. That accountability cannot be delegated to IT.
The exam is going to test business continuity plan concepts through scenario questions that embed the traps inside realistic-looking answer choices. Let us walk through the 4 traps that eliminate candidates who understand the content but misapply it under pressure.
Trap 1. A question presents an recovery time objective that is longer than the stated maximum tolerable downtime and asks if the business continuity plan is adequate. The trap answer is yes. The organization has a documented recovery plan. The correct answer is no. And recovery time objective that exceeds the maximum tolerable downtime means the plan guarantees failure before recovery is complete.
Trap 2. The exam uses business continuity plan and disaster recovery plan interchangeably in an answer choice. The trap answer treats them as the same scope. The correct answer recognizes that disaster recovery plan is the IT recovery component nested inside business continuity plan. They have different scopes, different owners, and activate at different trigger points.
Trap 3 is a vocabulary test. Mean time between failures covers the full failure cycle of repairable systems. MTTF is for components you replace, not repair. When the exam asks which metric applies to a hard drive you swap, the answer is MTTF. One-letter difference, completely different concept. The exam counts on candidates confusing them.
Trap 4 tests process sequencing. A question may describe an organization that drafted its business continuity plan and then conducted a business impact analysis to validate it. That sequence is backwards. The business impact analysis must be completed before any recovery targets are set.
Here is the anchor for this entire topic. Business impact analysis first. That output gives you your metrics, recovery time objective, recovery point objective, and maximum tolerable downtime. Those metrics drive the plan structure. The plan gets tested. Test results drive the update. That chain, business impact analysis, metrics, plan, test, update, is the sequence the exam tests you on. And it is the chain British Airways broke.
They had a plan. They had not tested it against a power failure with verified failover. The gap between having a business continuity plan and having a tested business continuity plan is measured in cancelled flights and 150 million GBP.
Drop in the comments. Has your organization ever run a full interruption business continuity plan test, or does it stay at the tabletop discussion level? We read every comment. Your experience shapes what we cover next.
All right, quiz time. Let's find out what's stuck. Think through each question carefully before you answer.
Smash that like button and subscribe. It costs nothing, and it means everything to keep this series going.
An organization's business impact analysis determines that its order management system has a maximum tolerable downtime of 6 hours. The current business continuity plan sets a recovery time objective of 8 hours for that system. Which statement is correct? The correct answer is D. The business continuity plan is inadequate because the recovery time objective exceeds the maximum tolerable downtime.
Which metric represents the maximum amount of data loss measured in time that an organization can tolerate when recovering from a disruption? The correct answer is C, recovery point objective, recovery point objective.
A security manager needs to schedule preventive maintenance for a fleet of servers before their expected failure point. Which reliability metric should drive that maintenance schedule? The correct answer is C. Mean time between failures, mean time between failures.
Well done on the quiz. Here is what this video covered. The business impact analysis is the mandatory first step. It identifies critical business functions, quantifies the impact of disruption, and assigns recovery priorities. Every metric in your business continuity plan traces back to the business impact analysis output.
The recovery triangle. Recovery time objective defines how fast systems must be restored. Recovery point objective defines how much data loss is acceptable, and maximum tolerable downtime sets the absolute ceiling. Recovery time objective must always be less than or equal to maximum tolerable downtime. If it is not, the plan is already broken.
For hardware reliability, MTTF applies to non-repairable components you replace. Mean time to recover measures repair time for repairable systems, and mean time between failures covers the full failure cycle. Mean time between failures drives your preventive maintenance schedule. Replace before failure, not after.
Business continuity plan and disaster recovery plan are related but distinct. Business continuity plan covers the full scope of business continuity across people, processes, and facilities. Disaster recovery plan is the IT recovery layer nested inside business continuity plan. They have different scopes, different owners, and activate at different trigger points.
Next video in this series covers personnel security, from candidate screening and background checks through termination procedures. That is CISSP 1.8. Watch the next video, CISSP 1.8 Personnel Security, Hiring to Termination.
Subscribe so you do not miss it. The Domain 1 block builds each concept on the previous one. Missing a video means gaps when you hit the practice exams.
Stay sharp out there. Stay sharp out there.
George, that was excellent. I am going to need my whiteboard back though. Professor Erica, signing off.